Welcome back to the Grit Daily House and our coverage of South by Southwest. I'm so excited to host this conversation. This is something that I think really deeply about. We're talking about building trust using the blockchain. And often when we come to conferences like South by or even blockchain conferences, we tend to use these words like building trust in technology, but really we're talking about how we're going to engage in society with these emerging technologies and how we can create trust and be able to interact and exchange with each other and create meaning. So I think deeply about this topic. I'm very excited to be joined by the co-founders of Nodle. I'm joined now with Garrett Kinsman, who's one of the co-founders, as well as Micha Benoliel. And they also created an app called Click that we're going to talk about. Would you like to just introduce what Nodle is?
Absolutely. So Nodle is a blockchain and mobile network. We've been around for quite a few years now, and we are super excited to actually launch for South by a new application built on this network, which is called the Click app. And it's all about fighting misinformation, disinformation, and help you actually trust what you see online. So we are super excited to launch that for South by Southwest, yeah.
Yeah, I'm so excited to talk to you about this because misinformation is obviously a really serious issue going into our upcoming election cycle. Do you want to talk a little bit about how the blockchain is a use case for overcoming misinformation?
Well, we explored many use cases. Obviously, everyone knows what you can do with DeFi on blockchain. It's less obvious for people to know other great killer applications using blockchain. We've been researching that for many years. And we actually found that proving that a photo or a media, a video is real is actually now a great use case. You have, in the last year and a half, just to give you a number, the equivalent of 150 years of photography that was generated by generative AI. So more than 15 billion images. And we think that it's time actually to have people use an app like the Click app and push authentic content online, because otherwise in a couple of years from now, we may end up in the Matrix. Like it's going to be like the Makovsky movie of the 1999. You take the red pill or the blue pill.
I kind of already feel like we're living there a little bit. So explain for people that don't know, how does the blockchain work to authenticate content, and how does the Click app work?
So what we like to say is that we're building a digital trust network. And essentially, Nodle is a fundamental primitive for the internet to help verify that something is real. In a nutshell, when you take a picture, when you take a click, we actually push a record, a signature of that image onto a blockchain, and then we store that image in a decentralized storage. So that way anybody can go and look at that and reference that it was real and see the data associated with that.
And how does that overcome some of the issues of fake news and deep fakes and some of the issues that are emerging and going to be real problems, especially in our election cycle and in our media?
Well, when you if someone shares a click photo or a click video, you can automatically go on a web page and you can check if actually this photo is recorded on the blockchain. And if there is a change between what we call a hash, it's a technical term of a hash of the media with all the metadata, if there's a change between that hash online on IPFS or on the website and what's recorded on chain, you know basically that it's not the original one. So that's how we can actually trace and know that it is real. Yeah.
We also talked about the ability to compensate content creators for the photos that they take, or how does this help overcome some of the licensing and copyright issues that we are talking about in media right now?
Well, anything you actually share online using the Click app is recorded on chain, so you have ownership. I love that example because it happened just a couple of days ago, and we were posting for the company actually a post. We looked at some clicks that were online. And we used one of the photos of the Click users, the early Click users. And we could trace his wallet because it's on chain. We sent him some Nodle tokens. And we received an amazing message because that person is in Brazil. So even if it was not a great amount, it made a big difference for him. And that's the beauty of actually having media content recorded on chain. So you can trace ownership. Eventually, in the future, you can distribute rights to that person. You can make an offer to purchase the media content. So we believe that, pretty soon, a lot of the authentic media content will be basically produced that way. We hope so. It's great for creators, great for influencers. You mentioned what's happening in politics, or we just saw that with the robot call and Biden this week. But it's for influencers, it's super important. We met a few influencers, and they fear that people actually steal their content, use AI to change the face of the influencer, use a different voice, and then repost that video and take the money instead of the original influencer. So we think that Click is actually a fantastic tool for creators and influencers to prove that it's actually an original and it's authentic.
I just want to say it's this whole idea of provenance. Like when you would read a newspaper from even a decade ago or even 50 years ago, at the bottom of the picture, it would say, hey, it was taken by this photographer. Maybe they work for Reuters or the AFP. So you have that provenance of where that image came from. And this is really just bringing that to the digital age, including that provenance using open standards today and then pushing that into the blockchain.
I think about this when I reflect on the actors' strikes with SAG and all sorts of content creators, from film to images to actors to likeness. And I think when people think about blockchain and they think about the way that blockchain can work in everyday life, they have a hard time bridging the gap of things that should live in sort of a technical silo and then the actual, product that blockchain can produce in the real world. I feel like this would have been something that could have helped to steward those conversations with SAG and compensate artists properly. How do you think about educating the broader public on some of these blockchain use cases that are really parts of big media stories, but we're not talking about this side of it?
Well, it has to be very easy. Today, blockchain's been really difficult for people to understand and to use. And that's part of the reason we launched this app called Click, which lets anybody take a picture that's verifiable, that's proven on the blockchain. And you don't need to understand blockchain to do it. It just looks like a camera app, and you swipe to sign an image. So really making it easy for people to understand, educating them about this idea of provenance, to know and ask where that media came from. Because as you mentioned with the strikes, we're quickly entering a space where AI will be incredibly disruptive. And we think that knowing what's real or fake is a solution, a potential way out of this big mess that's and this massive change that's happening.
I want to touch on AI as well. And obviously, we are bombarded by new AI tools, and every company is an AI company. We're hearing about it a lot here at South by Southwest. And large language models obviously have been the AI story over the past year. So when we're thinking about large language models and data going into those large language models, why is it important to be able to authenticate all of the content that's going into large language models?
Well, if you train actually your LLM on a data set with a lot of AI images or fake content, automatically your model is going to hallucinate, and then the results won't be what you would expect. So it's very important, yes, to train it and potentially on authenticated content. I think it's going to take some time, nonetheless. But so it's very important.
Right. I mean, it's a big problem, right? To be able to authenticate all of the content that's going into these LLMs would be a huge undertaking. How do you educate users that are just entering this space and wanting to load Click app? Is there a consumer education piece that has to happen?
It's as easy as using your camera on your smartphone. And there's this new trend. Some people say it's not Web 3, it's Web 2.5, where actually we abstract the complexity of blockchain and make it easy for anyone to use an app that is built on the blockchain, but with the simplicity of any other Web 2 famous app, basically.
Do you think that there's generally a lot of education that needs to happen in the marketplace to get people more willing to try out blockchain-based technology?
I think it really has to be like application-based, and we're definitely moving in the right direction. So OpenAI, with their new video protocol called Sora, which I'm not sure if you saw, created absolutely photorealistic generated images or generated videos, they're signing all of those videos with image provenance. So they're signing that video to say, hey, it was created by OpenAI, and many other people are on board with this. So it's starting to percolate into the community. What's hard now is you need that common place where people can go and look to see if that record is there. And blockchain is a really great way to do that. So I think it's going to be, in the broader sense of the discussion, less about blockchain and more about the applications of how this is helping fight fake media and fake news.
Yeah, I think the time is about to change. For many years, you had this first wave of blockchain application. It was all about decentralized finance, speculation. And now, especially with what we are building with Click, I think people are going to start to understand how this technology is disruptive, important, and can be used in a way that, you can use it on your daily life, anytime. And actually, each time you see or you watch something that has some value or is important, you should be participating. And in this, we call it the click movement and pushing content online, because it's the best way to keep the internet, I would say, safe, secure, and also more authentic, and and help everyone of us. So this year, to come back to the election, it's 50 countries under election, 2 billion people, the US, Mexico, in India, 900 million people. So it's really fundamental.
And coming back to the fake news issue, obviously I understand how Click is used with images, but you were mentioning something about journalism as well, and how Click can be used as a use case for authenticating content in journalism. Do you want to speak a little bit about that?
Sure. So I think the biggest nightmare, I heard it for someone who was a chairman at Reuters for I think 10 years. He said, my biggest nightmare was when I was picking a photo and I was not sure if the smoke on the photo was real or not. And I had to push it onto, it was going to be pushed on the publication. And so the way the industry has been working up until now was through affiliated agencies, or with photographers they knew. What's fantastic with a tool like Click is now you can trust a photo or a video that has been taken in a place where you may know nobody. And but because it was authenticated using the app on the smartphone, now you can trust that this is actually real, and it did happen. So I think it's going to change potentially journalism and the way people source content. Today, if you try to write even for a local media, you're going to look on Twitter if someone took a photo or a video of the event you are covering. So you have to reach out to that person on Twitter to know if you can use their photo or their video. The time they come back to you takes time. You have to figure out if you can, and you want to use the content. But till you don't have their go, you take a risk if you publish it. So with tools like Click and the blockchain, now you can trace basically the provenance. You can know who is that person. You can interact with that person, pay rights for the photo that you're going to be using, or purchase actually the media. So I think it may change the landscape of and the tools that people are going to use to produce interesting news.
I think that's an interesting point too, being able to tie content to a particular creator, especially as we're entering this generative AI content marketplace. When we see content that's produced and shared on social media, the idea of being able to tie that to a particular person instead of to some sort of a digital avatar or some kind of fraudulent activity or like a Cambridge Analytica style campaign is a really important piece of our content landscape moving forward, and can solve some problems in social media as well.
I would just say that it's very empowering. So for regular people to be able to go and just capture images and videos that you might not be able to trust if you weren't using a signed app. We're seeing this really interesting trend with media. You've got companies like Vice came out maybe a decade ago. Now they're going bankrupt. And you're starting to see some of the most interesting journalism really come from blogs and small-time YouTubers. And to be able to validate all that content is really empowering for these creators to go out and show the world what's going on. Especially when others aren't trusting the big medias, and there is a lot of questions about what's real and fake. So I think there's a really compelling shift that's happening with media, and we hope that we can help make sure that this is authentic and real and exciting and interesting to view and be part of.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that. I was mentioning to you that I teach digital content promotion, and my class of junior-aged kids in college at Washington State University, we were talking about the future of media and what the landscape is going to look like. And their argument to me is that we shouldn't have these major publishers anymore. It should be more like, who is the expert in their field, and how do we empower them to go out and seek the stories that they want to tell in the world, and how do we compensate them for that? So Click sounds like it could be a really interesting solution for that as well.
That's what this solution that are decentralized can enable. And then you can have people get also receive tips more easily. You can so if you produce a great content, tomorrow your fans will be able to reward you directly with Nodle tokens or money, and that's good. That's a big change.
Yeah. Well, is there anything that we should leave people with? How do they get in touch with you?
So if you are willing to produce a lot of content, especially during South by Southwest, there's a special channel on the Click app. So it's clickapp.com. Otherwise, you can reach out to us through the website nodle.com, nodle.com. And you can find us probably on social. My social on X is and Twitter is at Anthenor, Anthenor, and the Click one is at Click Your Truth. Yeah.
And I think we have a couple of minutes for questions if anybody would like to ask our panelists a question. How do we download the app?
Clickapp.com.
Yeah, we're on App Store and Play Store, and you can just search Click Camera, and it's usually the first to show up.
Yeah, we released the public beta for South by Southwest, and it's pretty easy. Yeah.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us, and thank you for the great work that you're doing in this wonderful use case in blockchain.
Thank you, Tina, for having us. Thanks.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.